Hey guys, Josh here in the studio today. Now recently I have been spending a lot of time going over kit photos, looking at gear and cool SVDs like this in preparation for a game that is coming up that I'm very excited about. Operation Uprising 3 is a 24-hour MilSim game that happens in Clovis, California, and I've had the opportunity to go to it once before, and it was simply one of the best games I've played in a long time. It was a blast. So I'm building a new loadout and a kit for the game that is coming up in 3 weeks, and it got me thinking, you know, Josh, a lot of people ask me questions. How do I get into MilSim? I've done those big games where it's just a one-day game, but I really want to get into those more like 24-hour camping on the field kind of stuff. How do I get into that? Well, in this video series, I'm going to break down for you guys what I go through, what I'm thinking about, my spreadsheets and all that kind of stuff to help you guys understand what goes into a 24-hour MilSim game. All right, guys, now before we jump into this video, I want to set a very big precedent, and that is everything that I do in terms of building kit and gear is always going to be very tailored to the specific role or mission that is at hand. That is just the way I am when it comes to playing Airsoft. I love fulfilling a role. Now at the Operation Uprising 3 series, I am going to be fulfilling the role of a role player / DMR militia insurgent style fighter. So those are the parameters that we have going into this, so just keep that in mind. Now the first thing I usually start with when it comes to building a very specific kit is the gun. Now obviously I work at Airsoft GI, so I have the ability to kind of pick and choose guns at my leisure to upgrade for these series to show you guys, but I really feel like if you're doing a kit or an impression style loadout, the gun is where your basis should start and work backwards. Because you have to carry the magazines, and with an SVD the magazines are kind of a little more intricate, so I need something to carry that. And obviously this SVD you see here in front of me is very modern, and this is not the one that we're going to be using for the build. I know you guys out there, the impressionists, are saying, wait a second Josh, this gun's got synthetic parts on there, it doesn't have any wood, this is not the SVD for the build, and you are 100% correct. We will be switching that out with a SEMA that has real wood. That's also going to give us the ability to upgrade the internals to get it shooting 500 feet per second, but that is going to be an entirely separate video where we go into the gun and kind of what we're going to be doing to that. But just to keep in mind, using your gun as the base for your build is kind of what I always do, and it really helps me tailor the gear specifically for my mission. So we chose an SVD for this build because we want to fulfill that DMR role, and we also want to be able to look as authentic as possible. So that's why we went with the SVD. Now before I move on to step 2 of my planning phase, I do want to make a quick mention, and I honestly think this should probably have gone before step 1, but my point is when you're building impressionist style loadouts, or you're building a loadout that is supposed to replicate something that is real world, I feel like a lot of people don't spend enough time doing research. There's so many photos on videos, there's tons of content out there in terms of looking at kit photos to get an idea of what you're trying to build. Now there's not always a ton, but usually for most parts, if you're trying to do an impression loadout like we are for this video series, I really can't emphasize the research phase enough. Spend time looking at the photos, try to find that kit and emulate something that looks real so you can, I don't know, to me I just really enjoy that aspect of it. It may not be for everybody, and I totally understand that, but for me when I'm building a loadout, there is just a really awesome element of doing the research and building a kit that is going to be as realistic as you can. So with that in mind, I spent a ton of time researching kit photos and looking at what kind of style loadouts I want to do for this DMR build that's going to allow me to do role playing in terms of like civilian actor style stuff and be able to get into the game, grab a gun and start putting rounds down range. All right, so we've done our research. We know that we're gonna build an SVD. We know that we're gonna build a Middle East style insurgent loadout. So what does that mean? Now it's time to really dig into those source photos and look at what kit they are wearing. And for the most part, you will see in these photos that really we're not wearing a lot of stuff here. This is not high-speed stuff. We're not talking any molly of anything of any sort. So for this loadout, it's gonna be kind of basic. But the thing is we wanna try to get this authentic clothing. So you gotta look up these terms and try to find what this stuff is. Thankfully, I have a bit of a connection here at Airsoft GI that I can get some sources for these clothes that we're gonna break into in the next video where we kind of assemble everything together. So what I usually do is I open up a spreadsheet that has it's kind of like a gear builder that you would see in a video game, just in a spreadsheet form. And what I do is I literally list out everything that I could possibly bring. Now with this being a 24-hour game, obviously I'm bringing some extra stuff. So my list might look something like this. My head, I'm gonna bring a baseball cap, the Pat2 or the Pack-Hole, I can't remember which one it's called at the moment, which is basically that little rolled up hat. I got my eye pro, I'm gonna have, I'm probably not gonna wear a mesh mask, so I don't need to worry about that. And I might have my schmog and a couple of other things. Then I'll kind of move on down. So I need to look into my chest area, what kind of stuff is going to be on my chest. And I list all of that out so that way I can have an idea of like, okay, this is what I need and this is what I don't need. So I'll spend a little bit of time breaking into my spreadsheet and kind of doing this. This may be way too in-depth for a lot of you guys out there, but for me personally, this gives me the ability to print something out and I can kind of check it off the list. I can't tell you guys how many times I have gone to a game with 8 magazines and I come back with 6 and I'm missing a pistol, or just tons of stuff ends up going awry. So I like having that spreadsheet to keep myself accountable and make sure that all my stuff comes home with me, because I like buying nice stuff, and I know you guys out there, if you're watching this, probably do too, so you want to make sure you hold on to it. So now I've got kind of my loadout built. Now I have to take a whole new side of things into consideration. That's going to be camping. Camping kind of adds a really interesting element to airsoft games that a lot of people do not prepare for, and I hear horror stories time and time again of people showing up to an airsoft game, not looking at the temperature, realizing, oh hey, it's probably going to be 30 to 20 degrees outside at nighttime, and not bringing warm enough clothing. It's no fun to freeze your butt off, so make sure you plan ahead. I've looked at the weather schedule and it looks like it's going to be pretty good. I don't have to worry too much about cold weather stuff. So all I'm going to really be packing is a decent sleeping bag, a pad, a couple of other essential stuff in there that I'll show you guys in the list. But yeah, your camping element of it, you have to take some things into consideration that are going to help you on the airsoft game, as well as give you some creature comforts, because you are camping on the ground. It's not going to be the most enjoyable experiences, but that's what you signed up for, right? It's a MilSim game, so that's the goal. All right, guys, I hope that gives you a bit of insight into my mind and how I'm working when I'm building these kits and loadouts. I wanted to kind of talk to you guys in this video to explain to you, hey, this is what we're doing, set up the parameters, and in the next 2 videos, we're really going to break into those gear, putting all the gear together, where I'm putting my mags and stuff like that, to kind of explain to you guys what I'm thinking about. So as we move on to this video series, I would love for you guys, please ask questions below. Any questions you guys have, I'd love to answer them. I wanted to build something a little bit different because I know you guys are probably very tired of seeing an M4 up here that's a DMR'd out and a guy in a multi-cam outfit. So I wanted to do something that would be a little bit different, kind of highlight the fact that, hey, airsoft is fun. You can go a ton of different ways and do a ton of really cool kits and builds, and you don't have to kind of be stuck in like just one play style. So leave those questions below. My name is Josh. I hope you guys are enjoying this, and if you guys want to see more content like this, also let me know. So I'll catch you guys on the next video that's coming up real soon.